Gaming, hot takes. I tweeted something along the lines of, give me your hottest gaming takes. We're gonna look at some of the gaming hot takes and judge them for their almost definitely wrong opinions. Doom scroll with Mars. Oh, that's what we're calling this segment. I like that asking for somebody's opinion and then getting it is called doom scrolling now. Solar says Galaxy is the worst of the iconic 3D Mario games. 64, Sunshine, Galaxy 1 to 2, and Odyssey. Least amount of movement, insanely slow storytelling. People don't play Mario for the storytelling, bro. Overrated by the Wii's popularity and highly glazed due to childhood nostalgia. Personal favorite is Odyssey. I think like every 3D Mario has a little something wrong with it. Like 64 is like, it's a game to master. But if you're playing Mario 64 for the first time, it doesn't feel good, you know? Like, I also think that like when you say it's the worst of the iconic 3D Mario games, it's like we're comparing like 7 out of 10s to like a 9 out of 10s, you know what I mean? Like it's, I would like to know if this guy thinks that Galaxy is just straight up bad. Speedrunning community alone carries 64. I don't, that seems like a bet. Like, I don't like arguing like that. I'm gonna be real, I did not enjoy Odyssey all that much. I think Odyssey is like a bit of a baby game. And I love Odyssey, don't get me wrong. I actually think that Odyssey might be my favorite game, but it's kind of piss easy. And you could argue that like, you know, some of the worlds after a while get a little boring, you know? Bro, I think Sunshine is kind of mid. Noki Bay, kind of trash. That one level with the Yoshi, and like you have to go around the islands, pretty trash. The way Mario does not full stop when you stop the joystick, he kind of like juts forward a little bit, kind of annoying. Same with when he lands, he kind of like juts forward a little bit when he lands after a jump. If anything, Sunshine is nostalgia blind and not Galaxy. I could agree with that, yeah. Mohammed SSB says, on the lowest of keys, in a world where Smash was a super big enterprise esports like League of Legends or Valorant with massive prizes and international competition, China, Korea, and other countries that dominate those games, the best character at that level is Min Min Free. She's just not fun. Like the meta doesn't change just because the Smash esports become bigger. This is nothing. This guy is just cooking a nothing burger. If Smash was bigger and more people meta slaved, Min Min would be picked more. I guess. I think that's kind of how I'm reading this. But I also think he's wrong. I don't think that Min Min is the best. She has some clear flaws. I think Dormigi's just nasty. A game should not nerf or buff a character's / build before allowing time for counterplay to show up. I feel like monthly patches that aren't big bug fixes or stuff like that aren't enough time. Like maybe we didn't need Pichu self-damage being increased. I kind of agree. I actually agree a lot. I think this is a cold take, not a hot take, but an agreeable cold take. It sucks because you're right. A lot of people, they do cry buff or nerf as soon as they think something's broken. Palutena went virtually unchanged throughout the entirety of the game, and she's fine. She's pretty balanced. Early in the game, everyone was like, oh, she's broken, she's brain dead, she's like very one-dimensional. There's no counterplay, like she does too much damage. I think part of her like fading into irrelevance is the fact that she got power crept. Maybe I'm not entirely right in that way, but the first game that I think about is like Rivals of Ether, because these guys, they buff and nerf things on reflex. The community doesn't like nerf it. I agree that things need a lot of time to simmer. I think like Capcom's approach to balance is usually pretty good. I say usually because Street Fighter 6 specifically has had some questionable decisions. They'll go like a full year plus without actually changing a character, and I think that's like a really good time to like let things just simmer and have people adapt. I may be Riot Games pilled, but I feel like having patch cycles that are over a month long makes a game fairly stale. That's actually a really fair take. That if you don't patch things for a long time, things get stale. That's actually a really good point. The idea of a battle pass is actually a great idea to incentivize players by rewarding them for consistently playing with new content and ways to play. But companies like EA and Activision and Ubisoft have completely ruined the system with their predatory greed for microtransactions. Like, I agree and I disagree. I think calling a company greedy for microtransactions is kind of crazy. Like, I think just being like, hey, you can buy this skin for your weapon for $1. Ooh. $5 and you can put your character in a little bunny suit. That's money that you're choosing to spend. You can just play the game without it. I actually think that microtransactions are kind of fine unless they're like pivotal to like gameplay or like giving you an edge over somebody else. I do agree that the battle pass is a really good idea. I think actually Dead by Daylight does this, where if you complete the battle pass, like if you play enough, you get the next battle pass free. which I think is awesome. I think that's like a really good way to incentivize people to play the game. League of Legends is fundamentally the worst game ever made for how it converted all game devs into slopping their into competitive 5v5 or 6v6 soulless husks. The reason why indie and Nintendo remain popular is because they're incapable of following the comp trend. Yeah, League of Legends wasn't the first 5v5, which is funny, but it's like the first like massively popular one, I assume. This guy just doesn't like League. This guy doesn't know shit about video games. There are like hundreds of games that are not 5v5 or 6v6 soulless husks. I don't like, do you want like a 1v1 shooter? Like, I don't understand. And also they can. Didn't Nintendo make Pokemon Unite? Yeah, wait, yeah, literally somebody in my chat is saying that right now. So your take is wrong, first and foremost. Splatoon 2. Yeah, wait a minute. Brother, you're wrong. I'm gonna say something crazy. I've played League maybe, I don't know, 10 times in my life. It's probably not that bad of a game. I think it's just the community. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, wait. Okay, so these are 3 different takes. Hold the fuck up. 2025 game of the year was Look Outside. That's not, nobody has ever even heard of this game. What the fuck is this? What the fuck am I looking at? This looks weird. This is some weirdo shit. I think a degree of popularity needs to be considered when you're talking about game of the year. But calling Expedition 33 at like 7th is an insane take. That game is fantastic, and I don't understand what problem that people have with Expedition 33. I have problems with E33. Listen, some people do, but I think it's a really good game. Yeah, but E33 is French. That's the first problem that a lot of people have. I think people generally just dislike things. Like, I think everyone has an inner hipster, and I think for some people it's a lot more prevalent. And I think Expedition 33 got that treatment from a lot of people. But dude, every person that I know that I trust their opinion loves Expedition 33. Rivals of Aether 1 is the best platform fighter ever. You're wrong. No, Rivals of Aether. Oh, Rivals of Aether 1. I was thinking about 2. You're still wrong. I think it's very good. I don't think it's the best platform fighter. There's a reason that Smash is the #1 party game ever, because it's very good. I'm sorry to say. I know you're probably jaded from Smash. It's very good. Sorry to tell you. Olimar in Alt is top 10 most hype characters in the game when played correctly. Shoot on Candle aim. Damn, you Buzz, you play it wrong and you suck. No, that's just objectively wrong. I don't think that color-coded option select is fun or interesting, and mashing side B like a chimpanzee until your opponent is forced to interact with you does not seem very fun to me. These are awesome. They're definitely hot takes. I'll get up. These are some hot takes. I appreciate your post, Jerry Peepers. I think you were wrong about all these takes. The DDD, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are both wildly overrated. The open world is generally bland in both, and while Tears of the Kingdom fixes some parts of it, the issue is still there. The shrines in Breath of the Wild also just suck. Okay, so I think the shrines are kind of the best part, but also simultaneously the worst part. I think your take is like pretty medium. I think it's a pretty cold take. I think most people at this point will agree that Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are mid. They're fun for a bit, and then you realize how empty the world actually is, and you're like, well, there's no real dungeons, so you just go do puzzle simulators with shrines. But the shrines are generally like 90%, 95% like baby mode puzzles. You look at the 2 things they give you and you're like, I'm going to use these 2 things to solve the room. And if you could do 2 + 2, you could probably solve every shrine in the game. I do think that they are overrated. I don't think this is a very crazy take, and I don't like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild that much. Games are never really dead as long as you're still playing and having fun. When people claim a game is dead publicly, they are just trying to push their negativity about the game onto others. I'm assuming he's talking about like Smash, because people like to say Smash is dead. It's on the decline, and that is undeniable, but it won't like it's not dead. It won't die, because it's just like, I don't know, an industry titan. But I do agree that when people are saying like a game is dead, they are just being very pessimistic and being very negative. I think actually like helps in killing a game, air quotes. Concord is actually dead. That have just been like pulled, like they pulled the servers for them and they die. Tavares, hey, we've watched his content before. What's up, Tavares? I hope you see this. Story-focused video games are greater than movies, and it's not even close. If I had the choice between a story becoming one or the other, I choose the video game 100% of the time. That is a hot take. Actually, a very good hot take too, because this was a topic last week. I agree to some degree. Hold on. Wrong. I do think it's close, because there are 2 different like mediums of storytelling, and there are like several movies that that would not necessarily be better as games. But I'm also a gamer, so you're talking to a bunch of gamers, so I think that most of the time people would probably agree with you. Oh, that's an interesting take. The vast majority of good game stories should have just been movies. That's an interesting take. I don't know if I agree. A really good movie that would not make a good game. Parasite. Have you guys seen Parasite? I think that's a very good one. Shutter Island, I don't think would be a very good game. Fight Club would not be a very good game. I do think it's closer than you give it credit for. The Bible is mid. Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King is way better. We can actually pretty easily figure that out. The Bible has made significantly more money and is the best-selling book of all time. Guys, the Bible, low-key, might be better. Goose! Other than Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring, nothing meaningful has been released on any platform for the last decade. Okay, that's just wrong. So, Rage Bait used to be believable? Yeah, I know, right? Ooh, Vars, my goat. Let me out of your basement, please. You still haven't fulfilled your contract. 90% of players who play any ranked game do not have a plan or training regimen in place to improve, but complain they're hard stuck or can't climb or get better results. It's like trying to go to the gym without a plan. You don't get anywhere. I agree a lot, actually. I don't know if that's like a really hot take per se. It's definitely something that people don't think about. So this is just how it is, not hot. Yeah, definitely a cold take, but definitely a correct take. I do agree that like a lot of players just do. I mean, I was the same way. I was that 90% of players who just went to tournaments and just naturally got better. I didn't training room. I didn't VOD review. I didn't bounce ideas off of other players. I was just boosted by my own ability to adapt to my opponent's options. Having any Smash Bros game in your top 5 games means you have to play more video games. I don't agree with that, but I do think it's a hot take. I think that a lot of gamers are in denial. No, do not say true, CS, because hear me out, okay? No, hear me out. A lot of gamers are in denial, and I think that Sriracha here is one of those gamers, just based on what I'm reading right here, that put thousands, and I mean thousands of hours into a game and don't put it in their top 5 are coping super hard. You cannot tell me that a game is in your top 5 without putting that many hours into it. That's just a lie. You are lying to yourself. It might not be like in the top 5 games you enjoy, which actually I don't even think that's true because you've been playing it for so long. You know what I mean? I think Smash Bros goes in my top 5, and I think you just look at the stats for that one. Like, I love like many other games and many other series, but unfortunately, you know, I've put an egregious amount of time into Smash Bros, and I've had fun a lot of those times, so I think it's in my top 5. Too many AAA titles rely okay RPG elements and also crafting. We need more straightforward story progression games without having to worry about leveling up abilities and armor like the Uncharted series. Ooh, wait, that's kind of a goated take. Wait, I think that's kind of true that a lot of games out there nowadays kind of rely, like they want more playtime in their game, so they put like stupid filler shit in their game. Like, yeah, Uncharted series, one of my favorite series of all time. Genuinely, I really like that series. When I saw the RPG and crafting in God of War, I groaned big. That's so true. God of War didn't need that at all. I think that most games like they just don't need it. Open worlds more often make games worse. Adding repetitive bloat and turning games into grindy to-do lists. Curated experiences are way undervalued. This is kind of the same take that we just had, no? This is all you need to ever think about. This right here, whenever you think about open world games, just think about this image. Gamers assign way too much value of how many hours they get out of a game, especially when justifying its price. That is super true. Unfortunately, games cost money, so I think people will naturally be like, I better get my money's worth. And then they like play the game, have a fucking blast for like, I don't know, however many hours. And then they're like, damn, I wish that was longer. I paid like $40 for this. Kingdom Hearts bosses are far more difficult than Soulsborne bosses. I'm beating Elden Ring as a Kingdom Hearts player faster than a Souls player will with Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind alone. Holy grow up, kid. If you're still talking about Kingdom Hearts in 2025 or 2026, you are a Disney adult. Early 3D era video games, N64, PS1, PS2, GameCube, etc. were more fun because developers had no idea what they were doing and every game controlled wildly different. Every game just controls it. Now every game just controls the same and it's boring. Look at Armored Core, God Hand, Devil May Cry, Katamari. What the dude? What the wait, Oni. Okay, dude, you just explained. You just contradicted yourself. Devil May Cry is the best slashing game of all time. It is the great. Fuck you. And Katamari is so wildly different. What are you talking about? Now every game just controls the same and it's boring. Look at Armored Core, God Hand, Devil May Cry, Katamari, Onimusha. That would imply that those games go under the controls the same and it's boring. I think he said it backwards in the tweet. You might be right. I think that, like, I think you have a good chance of being right, that these are the games that he's using as early 3D era video games that were more fun because developers had no idea what they were doing. You could also be wrong. If you complain about things being imbalanced, broken, or should be nerfed, whether that be powerful enemy in an RPG or a strong character in a fighting game, 90% of the time it is a skill issue. No, I mean, maybe I don't know, because I am a good gamer and I usually know the line between totally annoying. I think what a lot of people like complain about is not the fact that something is imbalanced or broken. It's more so the effect that it has on the gameplay. For example, a lot of people complain about Steve or Luigi or Min Min or Kazuya, not necessarily because the characters are broken, but because of the consequences of that fact. So Steve is broken because he outcamps you and makes the game very uninteractive, which is very unfun and very polarizing, because once he does finally get his hands on you, he's doing way more damage per interaction than you. So that is undeniably balanced and broken. Everyone who plays Souls games, and some people who played Silksong can probably agree with this, nobody, or at least most people, they don't mind fighting a hard boss. That's the fun in overcoming that challenge. The problem stems from the fact that once I do, or if I do lose, what is the punishment? Do I have to spend 10 seconds walking back to the boss? That's fine. I don't mind that it's challenging, you know? But if it's challenging and I have to spend a minute and a half going through some gas gauntlet, I'm looking at you, bile water, that sucks. That is garbage, and that is not fun. It's the consequences that people are complaining about. Brawl has the best competitive roster of any Smash game. That is wrong. I think it's Ultimate. Ultimate has the most characters. In fact, it has every character from Brawl, and they play similar enough. It's just Ultimate, no? Oh wait, the best competitive roster? Oh, hold up, that changes everything. This is rage bait. I thought this was just roster period. No, this is rage bait. Indie games have reached the point to where they compare to most AAA games nowadays. Not only has Undertale, Hollow Knight, Among Us, and Five Nights at Freddy's made giant cultural impacts, but they're branching out to ideas that bigger companies are afraid to try, like Pizza Tower. Dude, Pizza Tower is just Sonic, no? Sonic and like WarioWare, that's not a new idea. I do agree with the overall statement that indie games are reaching a point where they can compare to most AAA games. In fact, I think that anyone that is a competent real gamer would kind of agree that AAA games nowadays kind of suck major ass. Every AAA game ever. So this, I want you guys to know that this was made ironically, and they know what they were doing before you super cringe.
You made it.
That you, Peach? I see Toadsworth roped you into this too.
The Monarch's job is never done, but we can talk more later. Bowser's castle should be just up ahead.
I thought I smelled something burning.
Focus M. Bowser's got the power stars, and you know what that means.
Yeah, trouble.
Exactly. So watch your back. Oh, and if you find any red coins out there, make sure you grab those too. Collect enough, and I might just have an upgrade waiting for you.
You're the boss, princess. Okay, Mario. Time to party. All right.
Fire Emblem, oh hell yeah, this is awesome. Fire Emblem is Nintendo's most consistent franchise, and it isn't even close. Fire Emblem laps most other Nintendo series, and I only started with the series in April. Okay, well, you love Fire Emblem, so I love you, because I love Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem laps most other Nintendo series. I don't know about that. I don't agree with that at all. I don't actually even agree that Fire Emblem is its most consistent franchise at all. It definitely fluctuates in quality, like between games a lot. Fire Emblem in the East started really, really well. It's like the GBA games in general were like, fluctuating in popularity. And then like Ike's games initially weren't received very well. I don't think they sold fantastically at first, even though they're like cult classic collectathon or like collectible games. And then like, I'm pretty sure once, Awakening came out, they were like, this is the last Fire Emblem if this doesn't do well. And then it did really well. And then it revived the franchise, and then they came out with Fates, and Fates sucked ass. I mean, Fates was bad for a Fire Emblem game, and I think Fire Emblem Fates is worse than most games in Nintendo's library. So I think your take is wrong. So that makes it a hot one, I guess. I just like Fire Emblem, so we'll say it's hot. Competitive video games should have stayed a hobby and were better before people were doing it for a living. Is that the wrong form of weird? Doesn't this just invalidate his entire take? I mean, I don't agree with this at all. Competitive video games are sick. If you don't have a heart of competition, if you're not a competitive person, then just don't interact with the competitive side of things. You literally just look away. There is no competitive video games if you just don't look at them. Yeah, this is a trash take. Chance, no joke. I definitely think that Sakurai has a personal beef with Ganondorf. He's been dead last by not 1, not 2, but 3 Smash games. Loki, I definitely think he's not the worst in Ultimate because there are worse. Doc. Okay, I don't think he actually hates Ganondorf. I think he's trying to go for an archetype of slow, heavy hitter, and he just wants Ganondorf to be that no matter what. And unfortunately, in a game that focuses a lot on mobility, yeah, you're gonna be a bad character. Sorry. I got a hot take for you guys. Firmware, software series, whichever one they're called, the ones that make Dark Souls, I think they're bad games. I think they are too punishing. Don't think it's a skill issue. FromSoft, that's the one. Yeah, they are. Those are bad games. Those are just bad, unfun games. I think a game that the entire idea is for you to just get fucked the entire time is not cool. You just walk around, you go past a corner, boom. Clobbered in the back of the head, fall down, get flushed down the toilet, die, lose all your souls. You're like, okay, well, I just have to get back. And then you get past the guy who killed you, and then you mess up some platforming. You just get wombo comboed by a little rat that's about this big, and he just does too much damage for no reason, and you boom, all your souls are lost. And then, well, that sucks ass. Now I feel like a lower level, and this feels terrible. Not fun. Not fun to just get killed by the small enemies like that. And every small stupid enemy that staggers you is just annoying as shit. I do not get that satisfaction from beating a boss. Most of the time, there are some times where I'm like, yeah, that was earned. But most of the time, I say to myself, thank God that's over. I think Lies of P is a very good Souls-like, and it does the series well because it feels like you can actually first try bosses with your raw skill and fundies. It's pretty hard to do, but it's possible. If you've played the Lies of P DLC, Arlecchino, thank you guys for watching this video. For the hot takes, go ahead, like, comment your hot takes, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.